her mum. They had a brilliant time. She really enjoyed it, and yeah, they're really grateful for the opportunity that you gave us. So thank you.
Oh, welcome. She's been a pleasure to have.
Excellent. Any Councillor Holly?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm interested in 6.4 about the pop-up shop. Town Centre Management contacted Middle Row Traders to gauge interest. I was wondering if any interest has been shown. I remember we did have a pop-up shop in Middle Row some years ago, and it lasted for a fairly short while. But I've often thought that somewhere like Martin, the old Martins and so on, could be used as a sort of bigger place if there was enough interest. But this obviously is in the quadrant.
Yeah, lots of interest. So every trader that's been with me, obviously not catering vans because that's a little bit harder to join us, but every trader that's been with us in the market received an email from myself, asked them of the interest. Obviously I couldn't give them lots of details, but just said potentially if there was an opportunity between October and December, would you be interested? And most of them, I said yes. Obviously they'd like more information to make that final decision. But yeah, seems to be well received and people are looking at doing that and interested.
Thank you, that's encouraging.
And then just on that,
Yep.
In the report it says costs are still to be confirmed. Obviously we're now into September. If we're looking to start this from October, are we actually realistically going to be able to get this done ready in time for that 3-month window?
So on my part, lots of emails are going to the quadrant. I'm not always receiving them back. Myself and Becky did have a positive meeting and I did think that that was going to move forward a bit quicker than it has done. Unfortunately, Andy, who we've been dealing with, has not been so forthcoming in his emails and confirmation on the actual price, and if it's something that, even though verbally was said, whether that's been written down and that will actually happen. I did send him another email at the weekend and said that I really do need an answer from you, possibly today, but I haven't seen one.
Okay.
We need to know by the back end of this month for us to be able to move forward. It also depends on the state of which the unit is in as to how long the turnaround will be. At the moment it doesn't look like it's too bad, it needs too much work to it, but there's still some work. So if we find ourselves in September with no answer, then unfortunately that UKSBF project won't be able to go forward, and we'll have to see how we can redirect those project funds elsewhere. But rest assured, members, that officers have taken every length we possibly could to try and make this happen, and there's still an opportunity.
And we do have other options for spending the remaining funding, should that be the case.
Thank you. Councillor Holly?
Thank you. Yes, 6.3 about living pillars sounds interesting. I assume it's plants. 2 sites have been identified. Do we know which they are, or can we know which they are? I expect it's a bit early for results due in September since we're only on the 2nd.
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned. That was just a little what I mentioned just a moment ago, that they're stress testing the lampposts that we're looking at. One is Grove End and one is Ashton Square End for the moment. They're the 2 areas that we're looking at. And as I say, they were meant to do the stress test last week, but we received an email to say it's happening tonight. So you might see when you leave somebody out there poking about with a lamppost. Yeah, and then once they've seen if the lampposts are actually suitable, then that's something that we can then move on with.
Thank you.
Louise?
Hi, thank you again. 6.1, the 3 new water refill stations. Awesome, like everybody loves them, including me. I've used them loads. And I love the fact that it says here that signs are being prepared to be placed next to each station, I guess, to explain what they are and how they got there. A lot of the residents had commented on the fact that there were no signs. I was going to write to you guys, but I was absolutely certain that you're already getting made. I just wondered if we had an idea as to when they may be placed.
So I've just come back from leave today, and I've been speaking to Rachel. She hadn't heard from the sign shop despite chasing last week, so she's on the case this week to try and get the date confirmed in place. So.
There was also a lot of water bottles given out on Ashton Square Day as well. So I had another 100 and I think I gave them all out actually. I didn't have any end of the day. So 100 were given out on Ashton Square Day.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you very much. Okay, members have no more questions? Okay, enjoy your evening, Annette, unless you're staying on to listen.
Going to go back and see to the dog. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, members, we'll move to item 6 then, the Grove Corner and Community Engagement Report.
Lovely, thank you. So I'd like to just draw your attention to a few key parts of the report. So Grove Corner figures. Grove Corner's received 371 visits from young people between the 14th of May 2024 and the 12th of August 2024. And Pokemon's received 165 visits from young people between the 21st of May 2024 and the 16th of July 2024. Now, you'll note that the numbers are less than last year, and I just want to draw your attention to 2.1. So we're aware that the sessions have been quieter, and so we've been discussing with young people the barriers for them to attend. Now, historically, this is something that we do see where a cohort will grow up, they'll move on, and then the next kind of cohort will come. So it is something that we do see that happens. But we've had some feedback from particularly the 16 to 18-year-olds that session timings are too late for them. So they'll often go home from college, and actually they don't always want to come back out. And so that has been some feedback that we've had as we've done some consultation. And therefore, for this next term, we're going to trial doing the sessions at slightly different times to see how that goes. And you can see those sessions noted there. But on a Friday, we're going to be bringing the 14 to 18-year-old session straight after school from 4 till 5:30. And then our junior session will carry on from 6 till 7:45. But our detached sessions are still going to be running on a Friday evening. So from 6 till 9 p.m, youth workers will still be available to young people. So actually, if young people then did want to access Grove Corner later, there's actually an opportunity they could access it twice on a Friday in those winter months. And then what we will do is we'll get feedback from Central Bedfordshire Community Safety and the police just to ensure there's no impact on antisocial behaviour. And then we'll make a decision kind of from the new year going forwards if we keep those timings or should we change them again. But just tonight in Grove Corner, chatting to some of the young people that were accessing straight after school, they were really excited about the fact that actually, oh, I can access this now after college. So that's a really positive thing. Section 3, detached youth work. So between the 15th of May 2024 and the 14th of August, we've delivered 26 detached activities and engagement sessions across Dunstable, and this doesn't include Dunstable East. So you can see the various areas that we have covered. And since the 15th of May 2024 and the 14th of August, we've continued to deliver 9 hours a week in Dunstable East. And again, you can see the various locations that have been covered. We are liaising currently with the Dunstable Centre to explore partnership working for detached work in Dunstable East. So we're just waiting to hear back from the Dunstable Centre. They were putting a funding application in to see if that was some partnership work that we were going to be able to do. And I'm meeting with them later this week to discuss that further to see where they're at with that. Then 3.5, between the 15th of May and the 14th of August, we've engaged with 1,269 young people by headcount for detached. 559 of these young people have been in Dunstable East, and the remaining 710 have been in the rest of the town. You'll see in the report that I've allocated different areas that we're going to be focusing on, and again, that's been through consultation with the young people to identify areas that we will be focusing on. 3.6, we continue to deliver monthly weekend sessions as part of detached. And over May, June and July, officers have focused on Kingsbury Recreation Ground, Grove House Gardens, Grove Corner and Ashton Square, where the young people took part in the youth market. You'll then see a table for our summer activities programme. So we this year did a young people summer activity programme as well as the children's activity programme, and figures are kind of written in that report. The skate jam had 40 people take part, but 100 people in total were present. And we've had some feedback from that, which is really positive, where parents have spoken that maybe we've had younger siblings that couldn't take part in the skate jam and have asked if our Learn to Skate and Scoot could possibly run alongside. So that's something we will explore for next year. So youth workers were getting some really good conversations and some feedback. And then the chill and thrill session was quieter. So they had about 15 young people that participated in that. But our learning from that is that it was the last week of the school holidays, and it's the first time that we kind of put that on. And when I go into the report, you'll see that we had the same thing with our children's programme for the last week of holidays, that was quiet for that activity as well. So officers are planning also with the young people officers attached to sign them up to a WhatsApp communication if they want to join that. So they won't be able to message in that group chat, but it will be like broadcasting. So we'll be able to say youth workers are wherever the youth workers are going to be. So people that want to sign up to that will then be able to know, and if locations needed to change due to the weather, etc., it's an easy way to be able to inform young people as well as social media. 4.1, so officers are going to visit local schools in this new academic year, and we'll be promoting Grove Corner and detached sessions, and we're going to pitch those sessions for those in year 5 and above. 5.1, officers are currently working on creating a sensory space outside Grove Corner. So where the wheelbarrows are currently placed, this year in particular, we've had an awful lot of people stop and comment or be looking at the wheelbarrows. So that's been really positive. So officers are working with the community groups at Higher Grove Corner to look to create a sensory space. The Dunstable Men and Sheds, you may have noticed, have created some benches, and over the coming weeks, officers will work with the community groups to create a space there once the wheelbarrows move. And then you'll notice the table for the summer activities programme. So again, you can kind of compare figures from last year to this year. And just to note on the arts and crafts, as mentioned, 23 people attended that this year, and that had to be pushed back by a week due to the weather. So over both the children's and young people's activity programmes for this year, officers have engaged with 2,460 children and young people, and this does not include the adults that have brought them. So this is just the children and the young people. Then the Weenie Fantastic. So an evenings award is going to take place later this month, and the winners are going to be announced. And this year, 38 participants have taken part. And then the Senior Neighbourhood Development Officers working with Parks and Open Spaces Officer to put a defibrillator in the old red phone box opposite Priory Church on Church Street. It's currently in the planning stages, but a local individual is organising a fundraiser. And then Seed Corn 6.2, there's still £500 remaining in the Seed Corn budget for this financial year. So this is going to be promoted to community groups through communications of the grant. And then finally, 7.1, I'm going to hand over to Becky.
Members, just to give you a brief update in regards to the UKSVF cultural project that's been delivered by NGYT and the BB Group. I came back from leave with a report from them just to give us an update of how they're progressing and how things are going. It's been a very positive report in terms of their engagement and the response that they've had from individuals and from the community organisations themselves. Some of the key findings so far is that there seems to be a desire and a will to progress further with the project. So there's lots of opportunities that they've identified, but there does seem to be some weaknesses around access to the Grove Theatre, that community and voluntary sector feel that it's difficult to access, that it's expensive, that there's different rates for different groups, and that there's a relationship there that could be improved upon. They themselves are trying to develop the scratch card event later on in early next year, later on in the project, and they themselves are struggling to engage with the theatre themselves. So it's a lived experience from them as well. There's also some feedback that some of the groups don't necessarily feel supported by Dunstable Town Council, and they really want to understand what that means, because NGYT themselves are identifying that it's clearly not an intentional thing. It might be something which we're just not aware of, and by behaving differently and acting differently, we may well be able to support that sector more. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to provide these quarterly updates throughout the rest of this project to give you an idea of how that's progressing and what's going on. So I'd hope to say that you'll get a further report in January to let you know how that's progressing. In the meantime, if you've got any other questions, then please file them this way, and I'm happy to try and answer them or ask the NGYT and BBB group.
Thank you. Jill, what summer you and the team have had? It's been a really tremendous summer, and I know I've been at some of the activities and seen the young people enjoy themselves as well so much, and the amount of thanks you were getting at those activities, you know, that's the nice thing, that they're actually are, you know, they're so grateful for the opportunities that we've provided. And, you know, just looking at social media and the comments, apart from an occasional comment of we don't do anything, well, actually, there you go, that's what we do. It's been a really good year. So please pass on my thanks. And I'm sure everybody around the table wants to express that as well to all of the team. It's been a hard summer. It's been a good summer though. So thank you. Any other comments for Jill and her team? No? Oh, Louise?
Obviously, I do like to say something. I know I said it last time. The outreach work, especially, to me, it appears to have a massive impact on particularly this ward. There is definitely a different feel in this ward compared to last year, where there aren't so many young people hanging around with nothing to do. Literally, you don't really see them, and that can only be because of what you've been doing. I've passed you lots of times where you've been out in the skate park doing, you know, working with young people and their families even. And it's really, really lovely to see. One of the main reasons I wanted to become a councillor, I mean, there's loads of reasons actually, but one of them was my concern about the lack of facilities and events for young people in this area. You know, as a town council, we excel in that area, I think, and you know, I couldn't fault what the town council does, to be honest. But this year in particular, it's just exceeded expectations. So I just personally want to thank you. I can see it's different. The skate park everywhere is different. It feels different. I live here in the centre of town, and it is different. And your team, you're just amazing. So yeah, and I know the Schools Out party was huge. I know it was like massive, and it was a very big success. So yeah, it's great to have that stuff to shout about and feel proud of as councillors and obviously as officers. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you.
Are you staying?
I've got the next report.
Oh, there you go then.
Yes.
Best you get on with your next report.
Thank you.
Item 7, Old People Services.
Thank you. So again, I just want to draw your attention to a few key parts. So the Good Companions Club currently has 20 members, and we've advertised that in Talk of the Town. So there have been several phone calls from people since Talk of the Town went out. So what we're now doing is inviting people, if they're expressing an interest, to come along to a session so they can understand it a little bit more, and then to make a decision if it's the right thing for them. And then we've also contacted doctor surgeries again, and they're continuing to promote Good Companions for us. Since the last report, Good Companions have had several speakers and activities. Teaching Talents attended, and this was a really popular thing with both lunch clubs. And actually members from both lunch clubs commented this was one of their most favourite activities. And it's amazing just bringing some animals, actually, the difference that can make. So that was really good to see that. So we're going to look at kind of continuing that, but looking also at other potential things we could get in that involve animals. And then Good Companions have also kind of had a summer party. They've had a talk on bees. They've been on a boat trip, and they visited Bourdown Park. You may remember that I mentioned that we were exploring if we could take them to the seaside or not. Logistically, unfortunately, that wasn't going to work, but we're going to bring the seaside to them. So on the 23rd of September, Event Production Live are going to support us with that, and we're going to provide several activities. We're going to do fish and chips. We're going to hopefully get some ice creams. So we're going to bring the seaside, so they're still going to get to experience it, even if it is slightly different. And then Creasy Park. So Creasy Park Community Centre Lunch Club for over 55s has currently got 34 members with an average of 28 attending. There is still a waiting list of 12 people, so officers again continue to keep in contact with them, and we invite them to other events that we do for the older community. We've got several different activities planned in the coming weeks. We've got a visit at Christmas to the pantomime, and there's going to be a talk on bees, a trip to bowling, bingo. And just last week, which is why it's not written in the report, myself, Elaine and Jack went to the college because we want to explore and continue our intergenerational work. And so we're going to do a trip to the college on one Wednesday to work with their students, their catering students. We're going to provide a lunch. The college are changing kind of the feel of the cafe and making it look more restauranty. It's something they've been working on over the summer holiday. So we're actually going to go and provide that opportunity for a session as a trip out for the college students to be able to actually do that. And then we're looking further at how we could develop possibly like the hair and beauty course, possibly doing something. So we're excited for how that could potentially look in the future. And then we're continuing to facilitate coffee mornings, and we've had some really positive feedback from those that attend. The last coffee morning saw over 40 people attend, And people are just commenting that they're really enjoying knowing what providers are present, and some of them come to socialise, but some of them also come specifically because of the provider that's there, and actually having that opportunity to access certain providers in an easy way. So you'll see in the report when the other coffee mornings are. Members are welcome. If you ever do want to attend a coffee morning, you are welcome to come along. And then finally, Rock and Roll. So Rock and Roll is taking place on the 1st of October. We are going to trial it at Peter Newton, this one. The theme's going to be a classic rock and roll with an afternoon tea and music from Joe Corrigan. We put the tickets out last week and all 16 have been allocated already. So we're now getting a waiting list.
I don't know how that man does it. He has such a big following, doesn't he? As soon as people know it's Joe, that's it. Excellent. What an opportunity for our older people. Okay. So really is. Can I just ask, Creasy Park, we've got a maximum of 34. Obviously, Creasy Park could take more.
Yeah.
Have we got that number because of our volunteer numbers and our
directly into capacity and volunteers,
I think you've got 12 people there sitting there who really could benefit with some more socialisation and opportunities. It's how can we try to increase that number if possible. Or just just social isolation, especially in the winter months.
Yeah, we are as a team exploring. So where we trialled the Happy and Active Together project, we are as a team at the moment discussing other things that potentially we could trial going forwards and reviewing that.
I'll look forward to my cup of coffee next Tuesday. Right, any questions for Jill? Thank you very much, Jill, and again pass on our thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Right, item A, Gina. Events.
Good evening, members. I'd just like to start on section 2.3 Motor Rally. The event was very well received with an estimated attendance of over 5,000 across the day. Over a total of 208 vehicle owners attended, and this was out of 250 that applied, which is the largest number of participants and applicants to date. The event was marketed alongside Middle Row Market, which also had additional activities from the square to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. There was a good atmosphere across the whole of the town centre, with stores and shops across the square and Middle Row, the Quadrant and along both high streets, reporting that they traded well and were very busy throughout the whole day. Dunstable Live took place in June with the largest audience attendance of 5,000 across the day. Once again, there was a good atmosphere with feedback on the day via Facebook and on social media being incredibly positive. For Parting the Park, this was a well-attended event with consistent footfall on the day. New to this year, there was a large TV screen positioned next to the stage, which was due to event sponsorship, and this allowed the public sitting down or were a bit further away from the stage to see the performances on stage. This was received really well from the public. This is the second year that the accessible viewing platform has been made possible. It was encouraging to see the platform in use throughout the day, despite the fact that no advanced bookings were made via the Town Council website. Feedback received has been that users of the platform may not know until the day whether they are able to attend, depending on personal health and factors such as the weather forecast. Next year, the platform will be available once again on a first-come, first-served basis. There was also a council stall at Parting the Park, where the Dunstable Need a Neighbourhood Plan consultation took place. The stall was very busy across the duration, with many surveys undertaken, and free water bottles were also given out to the public. Around the World event went very well, with an estimated attendance of 2,000 across the day. Despite the adverse weather warning of high gusts of wind and the inability to erect gazebos due to health and safety, most of the stall holders booked attended on the day, and all activities booked went ahead as planned. The table under section 2.8 shows the attendance figures for the Sunday concerts across the whole summer. This year, 6 Sunday concerts took place over the summer. The format of this year's programme has been expanded to include different genres and styles of music on stage alongside brass bands. The diversity of the programme has been received very well through comments on the day and through feedback on Facebook and SurveyMonkey. Going on to section 3, Priory Proms in the Park will be taking place next Saturday from 6 p.m. The evening's entertainment will include Dunstable Town Band and Fiona Harrison performing before the main broadcast and during the interval, and it will also have a firework finale. There will also be an outdoor bar, food concessions on site, along a VIP area and glow stick product store managed by Priory House. Section 4, the table under section 4.1 shows the event dates for 2025. The date of the Classic Motor Rally and Dunstable Live has been changed. The date of the Classic Motor Rally has now been moved to Saturday 14th of June to now align with the Dunstable and Leighton Buzzard Truck Convoy and Middleborough Markets as planned for 2025. Dunstable Live has also been moved to allow for a 2-week gap between the two large events. There are no other significant changes to the timings of any of the events. Lastly, to section 5, free use of Grove Theatre. Dunstable has 2 free uses of Grove Theatre per year from April to March, which are usually offered to community and voluntary sectors and are promoted through social media pages and the Town Council website. The first free use for 24-25 has been allocated to Dunstable Music Theatre Company, and the second free use has been allocated to the Next Generation Youth Theatre and BBB Group for a community capacity building project within the performing arts sector. Recently, the Town Council has been approached by 2 organisations, both requesting uses in 25-26. The Veterans Foundation are seeking a venue to host a benefit concert in April. The funds raised for the concert would go towards helping the injured, the homeless and veterans with PTSD. It is believed that the organiser is not local and beneficiaries of the funds raised will be from outside of Dunstable. The Dunstable Musical Theatre Company have requested for the second free use for another production in October 2025. They haven't yet picked the performance, but once again, the production will involve adults and children, young people from in and around Dunstable, both on stage and backstage. The company recently celebrated their 60th anniversary and previously were based at the old Queensway Hall until it was demolished. They had always been promised Grove Theatre as their new home. However, this never transpired and they now need to raise funds to enable them to host performances in their local theatre. Members are reminded that currently the Town Council are working on a capacity building project with the performing arts sector in Dunstable. Findings are not expected until early next year. However, requests to use Grove Theatre for free are anticipated. If members are to agree both of these requests, it would mean that groups would need to wait until April 2026 to access the Town Council's free use. It is therefore recommended that members agree to the request from the Dunstable Musical Theatre Company, but decline the request from the Veterans Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. An amazing summer of events. Those figures of attendance records, I think they probably wiped us out the window on some of our past ones. So the town was certainly vibrant to capacity, wasn't it, on Car Rally Day?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, that really was. And you know, parting the park and everything else went so well. So again, huge thank yous. Members, we've got a recommendation here to consider as well. So is there any comments on anything to do with the report other than the free use of Grove Theatre? We'll do that separately, that conversation. Mark?
I have one request from residents of Dunstable East Ward. There's a gap in August bank holiday weekend, the Saturday the 23rd for next year. Would Dunstable Rocks be able to fit in there? That was very popular with
Well, somebody want to answer? Yeah.
So, but there are two questions in there. One is, could we do something next August bank holiday? The second is, could we resurrect Dunstable Rock?
Yes, sir.
We've taken it as a matter of policy previously not to hold town council events on bank holiday weekends. because it raises quite a lot of issues around staffing and people tend not to be around as much. So historically, we've just found that running events on bank holiday weekends doesn't get as many people there and costs us more money. So that's why we don't do the bank holiday. Becky, you might want to say just why we stopped doing Dunstable Rocks.
So Dunstable Rocks became quite logistically difficult. I think it's fair to say, Gina will back up any comments as well. There's a cost to try and get good acts in that financially was significantly difficult. It was the event where we had some of our highest issues, even when we tried to reduce the timing so we didn't have a late night. We still found ourselves that it was a difficult event to try and manage. And we also found that in terms of the breadth of our events package that we offer to the community, it tends to be therefore become very music heavy. And instead of having such a music heavy program of events, we wanted to try and diversify the events program to reach a different group of people. So that's why pictures came in around the world, etc. So we've tried to diversify the events program to meet a wider, broader breadth of people. So Dunstable Live is still one of our key music events of the year. That always runs very successfully without any particular problems and pressures for the emergency services, etc. So there's a variety of different reasons why it kind of got removed from our events programme. We're aware that neighbouring towns continue to have their music festivals and they're not that far away, so we would encourage people to go to those ones, and we will continue to adapt and develop the events programme to meet a diverse need. So that's a bit of history behind it.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Paul. My only comment about the dates is, are we comfortable that we've got Dunstable Live on Saturday and then a Sunday bank concert on Sunday? I'm thinking, Gina, your working time, your capacity. That's 2 days on the job.
Yeah, she did it this year as well.
I've done it.
Taking some time off on the.
Right, okay.
Got my gaps between. There are gaps between the next ones, so.
Just on the planned park in the council school, have we had any feedback on does Dunstable need a neighbourhood plan?
So that will be reported separately to full council. There were 114 responses, and we've obviously got a meeting later this month with. We'll go through findings then and then be reporting back to full council.
Thank you. Okay, so any other questions on the report other than the growth theatre conversation, which we're moving to? Okay, so we've been asked then to consider the 2 applications for usage. We've got our recommendation from our officers of agreeing with the Dunstable Musical Theatre Company and the reasons why they've recommended it. I'd like to just explore a little bit more about the fact that they've always promised an opportunity to use the Queensway Hall that's never been forthcoming. And I just wonder whether this is an opportunity for us actually to work with them and give them some stability. And I'm just putting this out there for conversation to see whether or not how the appetite is to actually say to them, we as a council will give you a free usage for the next 3 years, so that they can plan, they can forecast, they can really, you know, be a forward thinking organisation rather than having to come to us every year with the will you, won't you. I just wonder whether that is an opportunity for us to actually concrete something in there for them as a group, but just as an open conversation.
Just thinking in response to that, it may well be something which members do want to do, and I can definitely see the value in doing it, but also given the points Becky's already raised about the cultural work we're currently doing, engaged with other arts groups who have raised concerns and thoughts about their inability to access and grow to the maximum they would want to, perhaps rather than making a quick decision tonight, give us a chance to work with them a bit more and poke around those issues a bit more, because that might be a conversation with CBC at some point, or it might be a conversation with Grove to see actually, and I don't know what might be, there might be something more creative or something a bit different we want to do, so I'll just jump at that, but let's absolutely keep it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I also think, is it worth, you know, those conversations, central beds have opportunity for free usages. So, you know, the Queensway Hall was a central Bedfordshire or South Bedfordshire facility, wasn't it? So actually, why can't they give some of their free usages to this group as well, so that they've got some stability as well? So Anyway, thoughts on what the recommendations are for tonight, please? Down the table. Louise?
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a quick look at the Veterans Foundation. It is a national organisation, so I agree with the recommendation. That's just my 2 pence.
Anybody else wish to comment? Nick?
Yeah, I think it's obviously the Veterans Foundation sort of obviously brings emotions about to the actual association itself, but I think that the underlying thing which has been brought out by the officers is that, you know, we're really looking for local participation, use of the theatre.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Chair. I am curious what the cost is of renting out the Grove Theatre for a night in terms of, and we may not, or we may know the answer to that, and that will help me answer my next question.
It varies, and that is half the battle. That's one of the things that the NGYT BBB piece of work is highlighting, is that it can range from £5,000 to 50% cuts. I mean, it varies. There is no consistency for community groups when it comes to using that facility. And what we've found is that whilst they say you can get a free use, then additional costs get put on top of that. So they get the free use, and then they get told, but to use the box office, it's going to cost you this much, and for every ticket you sell, we're going to take £2 from it, and for you've got to then pay for your lighting engineers, and that, so it really can vary. So just for an example, with the musical theatre company, when they put on a production, they need the theatre for 7 nights, even though they might only hold 2 days worth of shows. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there may not be any additional costs as such, so because they aren't using any lighting engineers like that. And then obviously show nights is going to be more costly because you've got the front of house staff, etc., that are going on. So there isn't a very easy way of saying it costs this much. It varies, and then, as I'm saying, groups are coming back through the research and saying, actually, I got it offered for this much, or I didn't, I got it offered for that much. So there isn't a consistency either, unfortunately. There seems to be something that I think as a town council, as a joint committee, possibly as this piece of work, which is being funded through Central Beds UKSBF, that maybe we want to try and understand a bit more transparency, so we can support the voluntary and community sector better to access that facility.
That's really helpful, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to close the door on the Veterans Foundation, but I agree that actually looking into the other bodies that are responsible is probably a good way of going forward.
Anybody else before we go to the vote? We make a decision? No? Okay, so are we happy to accept the recommendation of our officers that we allocate one of the free uses of Grove Theatre in 25-26, and that the request from the Veterans Foundation on this occasion is declined? Those in favour? Those against? Abstaining? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just let the lady disappear. And how remiss of me, because we should have welcomed Jackie to her first meeting for community services. And you're here to deliver the primary health report, aren't you, Jackie, tonight?
I am indeed. Thank you. Okay, so this is operational issues 1.1. We had a 6-hour post up for a vacancy due to our young lad going off to university. We've now interviewed for that position, and we have now employed somebody, along with 2 new casual members of staff as well, to help with our events coming up for later in the year. On 2.1, the shop sales have been going well over the summer, with showcase shelving being fully booked for the rest of the year, and people now starting to book in for the following year. That's been good. 3.1, the G&T event. So in July, very successful. We took £1,300 in 3 hours. Every table and chair was full all evening, And it was extremely hard to get rid of people at the end of the evening.
I went eventually.
At 3.2, we held our G&T night on the 23rd of August, which was obviously bank holiday weekend. Not quite as a success. We didn't have the turnout of people. We took just over £300. But I do feel that was due to the bank holiday weekend. The weather forecast was shocking for that evening. But we still had a good time. 3.4, so officers are currently working on what we can deliver in terms of workshops over Christmas to utilise the gift shop area. So we're looking at doing decorating our cake again, the charm workshop. We're going to try running a Christmas themed tea blending workshop as well. And all of these will be advertised in Talk of the Town. 4.1 on the refurbishment. So the additional grant applications have now been submitted to the Lottery and Historic England, and the council should hear in September on the outcome, but I'm sure Becky will fill you in a lot more on that. 5.2, so as members will see, the shop sales are doing very well, and the effects of the seating in the shop along with the coffee machine have increased our sales significantly. 5.4, income for the tea rooms has increased over the summer. June was very wet, but July and August has seen the tables and chairs outside nearly every day full, which has also increased the footfall into the shop. 5.5 is that we will keep the tables and chairs out for as long as we possibly can, weather permitting. It just helps us with having customers to serve for extra seating, especially if we're sort of taking the afternoon teas, which we're holding in the gift shop area. We can then divert people outside as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And you know, my heart sank for you on the bank holiday weekend because there was only probably a dozen of us at most, wasn't there, throughout the evening.
Yeah.
Still had a good time, those of us that were there, and we still enjoyed it. So thank you to the team at Private House for everything that they're doing. Mark, you had a point?
No, sorry, just a silly point, really. G&T was a gin and tonic evening. Yeah,
Yes,
I'll keep an eye out for that one next time. I must have missed that email, I do apologise.
There were some chips and travellers.
Nick?
It's just some feedback from ourselves as a family. We tried the menu at the Priory House. You've got a new menu there. So we tried the salads. Although that sounds very nice, for the price, it seemed a little on the small side.
Okay.
So for the sake of a few more bits of beetroot and stuff, it seemed a bit disappointing for the price we paid. So don't know if any other feedback on that or not. But
Yeah, I can feed that back to the catering manager. Yes, certainly.
Good to see that the showcase shelving is booked out and into 2025. That's really positive.
Yeah.
Really positive, especially if the earlier conversation we had around not having been able to maybe the pop-up shop as well, that you know it's good that we've got those people still wanting to do that after all these years as well doing it. It's really encouraging.
And also on that note, I went over when the young traders were doing the market and I sort of promoted the showcase shelving to them, and we've had a couple of inquiries come in from that as well, so that's been very positive.
Excellent. Peter?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering how many bits of shelving we do offer, because at one stage I thought we thought that it was being reduced, but clearly there's the demand there.
Yeah, and we've got we have 2 units that we use for the showcase shelving. Another thing that we're sort of in the process of thinking through is for smaller craft people who do smaller items and things, maybe doing like a half shelf so that we could get maybe 3 or 4 different traders in amount and try it and just see if we can expand now on that showcase shelving.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Thank you for delivering that most excellently delivered report. I think with regard to, I've forgotten what I was going to say. I think given the challenges over the building at the moment, I think you and your team are doing an amazing job. It does seem to be busy there a lot, and I think that helps with the some of the antisocial behaviour we might see around that area. To see those tables and chairs full sort of naturally deters that, which is really good. And I love your proactiveness of going out and speaking to the traders about the shelves in the shop. You know, that's really very forward thinking. Gosh, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, the bank holiday weekend. I think what you just said about the bank holiday weekend sort of further backs up the whole event thing. It is the last weekend really of the school holidays. Lots of people are away. So I think it's quite natural for it not to be as busy as the other night. But I just wondered, while you were talking, if it would be possible to put up some gazebos around the table area. I know that can be weather permitting, but you know, when it is a little bit sort of showery, we can have some gazebos over the tables. Yeah.
I think the biggest issue is logistics of it. So you need 4 people to put up a pop-up, even though it doesn't look like it, to put them up safely. And so we don't always have 4 people on shift to put them up and take them down. We have those kind of logistics with the tables and chairs anyway of getting them in and out on a day. So when we've kind of got limited staff currently anyway, it's not always really a feasible thing to do, despite it making sense. And it's having them stored nearby as well, so we don't have any storage area that would take those pop-ups, because the store is for the grounds, and that's where they keep the bowels and all the bedding plants or what have you, and then the other store's got the tables and chairs in, and that's it. So logistically it's a difficult site to work with. You'll get an Andre stuck on the
Oh, that's a dream, isn't it? We've had years. Dream for years on that one.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Jackie? No, thank you very much, Jackie.
Thank you.
I'll give you time to. Okay, so moving on then to agenda item 10, which I think Becky's going to take us through.
Thank you very much, members. So this report is for members to consider and agree for this committee how the Town Council wishes to mark its 40th year in 25-26. There are a number of recommendations within this report based around spend. Some of those we're needing an immediate decision because officers are needing to plan and the timescales are quite short in that respect. Others could wait until the budget setting process and be considered at a future meeting in that respect. So just to give you some background to the report then. May 2025 will mark the Town Council's 40th anniversary. In the same year we'll be marking the 160th year since the Dunstable had a corporate body as such, and the office of the town mayor. And since I've been here, we've certainly kind of tried to mark some of those kind of key anniversaries. So we did something for our 25th anniversary back in 2010. That year we created Party in the Park as a new event, and then we had some community public art, the sculptures that were community, they were created through consultation engagement with a number of different community groups. So we've tried to mark it in some way, and I think it's fair to say that officers, and I'm sure yourselves feel that it's important to some way promote and mark this occasion. Previously, it's very much been based on the shoulders of community services. This time round, we really would like to make it a corporate feel. So there's going to be a number of reports going to each committee, giving other suggestions and ideas about how those committees and the teams within them can mark the occasion. But this report focuses just on the efforts of the of community services. Just to give you some context of where some of the ideas have come from, back in 2019, the Town Council was awarded some lottery funding to create a 2-day cultural event called The Weird and Wonderful. It was to try and create a kind of a street theatre feel, like when you go to Covent Garden with to support the markets and the event activities in Middle Row and the Square, and with a variety of different roaming kind of community arts activities. We received really positive feedback from that, but it just wasn't something that we could fund going forward. But we obviously learnt from it, and you'll have seen how Annette, where she can, she'll put on an event or an activity alongside one of the Middle Row markets, but doesn't quite have the same impact of having a number of different types of acts and performers taking place at the same time. So we're kind of using that as a basis with a number of our ideas. One of these is the Fortnight of Fun. Again, working on some bit of alliteration, but looking at how can we really involve as many different sections of our community to recognise that we're 40 years old next year. It will take place from the 12th to the 26th of July, and during that period, ordinarily, we would already have a number of events and activities taking place, because we've got a market, it falls within a market weekend, it falls within a street food market Thursday, it ends at the end of summer holiday, so we'd have some normal activities within our youth and community section, as well as our kicking off our summer holiday activities. And it's a way to take all these activities that are already going to be taking place, but rebadging them to mark our 40th, and to try and reach out to all the different sections of our community to show that, you know, we don't just put on events for one section, actually we range from the young and the old and all in between. It's an opportunity for others to get involved, so the Splashside Cafe could get involved, obviously Priory House would get involved as well. So it's a real opportunity to kind of show what we could deliver, and section 3.3 just gives a bit of detail what we think initially it could look like, and how something that we already do could be done, but maybe slightly bigger. By having a bigger budget, we can add to them and enhance those events and activities a little bit more. And then we have another idea just to throw into the mix, which is in 2010 we created Party in the Park. We realised the carnival wasn't working. We were struggling with numbers and participation. Let's try something, and if it doesn't work, we don't have to keep doing it. Thing is, Party in the Park was an absolute roaring success, and it's been built on year after year, and people don't want to see it go, like they didn't want to see the carnival go initially. We were thinking, how could we kind of create a similar buzz with something completely different? I've got a fantastic creative events and cultural team, and their thoughts was, how about creating an event that we don't have in the town or in any nearby towns, with a soapbox derby. So the details, and I won't go into details on it, are contained in the report as to what a soapbox derby is. But the way we see this working is we would add it to a Priory Pictures. So we've already got some of the infrastructure there already. And we would enhance Priory Pictures with a soapbox derby activity taking place during part of the day. We feel it could work in Priory Gardens. Officers have attended a soapbox derby to kind of learn a little bit more, and they're also liaising with the events team at that town to understand how they deliver it and how health and safety wise and cost wise it could work. But it isn't something that happens in our neighbouring towns, and we feel that it would be a fun addition to our events programme that you could quite easily do as a one-off. You could quite easily try and get some sponsorship from local businesses and within the town, because this isn't just about residents building soapbox go-karts. You know, businesses, community could get involved in it and have a big community feel. It's an event and activity that isn't doing at people, but they've got to be part of it as well. So it fosters that sense of place and community, which is what the town council is all about. And then if it doesn't work, or if the funding isn't there for future years, we don't have to do it. However, equally, you might find that, like with Party in the Park, it's a complete success. The community are loving it. It does exactly what we wanted to do, which is foster that sense of community spirit and engagement and involvement, and that actually we need to find a way to fund that for future years. But there's no pressure to do that. You haven't forced yourself and committed yourself to that. So it's an out there idea for members to consider. There have been other additional proposals which also cost money, additional funding, but we don't need to have as officers a decision tonight on those, and they're contained in section 5 of the report. They are things around some public chalk art, word art, similar to what we've seen taking place as part of the HAS up on the square, but this time throughout the town, focusing on the achievements and keywords and things that inspire and talk about what the town council is and has achieved. Involving local shops through a shop decorating kit that we would issue out to them, and then they could decorate their shops but enhance it even more, so you've got a real buzz in the town centre, a coordination of what the shops are looking like, which fits in with some street dressing, and this will be going to finance and general purposes. But as you can see, that whole idea of shouting loudly about the fact that we've hit our 40th year and just celebrating it with some great street dressing, and the simple thing like a drone photograph of the town council staff and councillors and our vehicles, etc., in the shape of a 40, which can be used on marketing and just kind of captures the town at that moment in time, the town council at the moment in time. Section 6 talks about the financial implications then. As you can see, these have been costed out. The fortnight of fun could be as much as you want it. You know, it says £10,000 there. If I told Gina you've actually got 30, she would find a way of using that and making it as fantastic as you possibly could. Equally, if we can't do 10 and it has to be cut a bit more, you know, we are able to cut our cloth accordingly there. It would just mean the impact would be lesser. And the Stokes Box Derby is very much, and as what it says, same with the chalk art, we have had a quote from that. The youth festival is based on a funding bid that was put in by the team last year, and they feel that they can deliver it on that. So in terms of our policy implications, it delivers everything that our corporate plan would expect us to deliver. It's about the town's identity, sense of place and pride, etc. So that's really been behind all the ideas that the team have thought about, and I really feel like I'm delivering this. Everybody's gone, but actually they've done all the hard work of pulling these fantastic ideas together, getting costs and understanding what is and isn't feasible. Obviously, some of these have got higher health and safety implications than others, but the team behind these ideas have great experience in ensuring that the relevant health and safety processes are adhered to. They feel that they can deliver them all within their own team's capacity, so there isn't a need for additional staffing in that respect. And I think it's really important in terms of the equalities implications. One of the reasons why the team looked at this was because they wanted to try and reach as many diverse members of our community as possible, rather than just focus on one event. They've looked at a series of different events and activities that would encourage and engage as many different residents as possible. So in conclusion, members, these are just the ideas from community services. I think there's a shared agreement about acknowledging and marking the town council's 40th year. There are a number of ways in which we can try and do that, but in doing so we can do it in a way that will foster a sense of place and pride and a sense of positivity about the town. Some of these things can be done regardless of additional funding, but obviously the more money that we're able to add to our existing budgets, the bigger impact some of these activities can have. As I say, there are some elements that we do need a decision on sooner rather than later, and others we could wait for the formal budget setting process. I'm happy to take any questions that members might have currently. I appreciate there's quite a lot to take in. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Any questions? Greg, then Nick.
Thank you, Dan. That's a great report. I think the Soapbox Derby is a great idea. I would love to watch that. That would be, well, yeah, my safety is very important. we don't want any by-elections adding to the cost. But
Get a council team.
I'll do it if you do it. But to bring it down slightly, I am concerned that taken together, this would all come to about £46,000. So I like some of this, but I think some of it maybe we can't do, or at least can't do as envisioned. But that's my thoughts on that. I think brilliant idea, really good.
Yeah, there's lots to take in here. On the soapbox derby, you're looking to plan in the Priory Gardens, I believe. I find it seems a bit of a stretch. I haven't seen like the Red Bull programs, and their soapbox derbies over like 2 miles.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, I know. I'm
Don't think Red Bull.
One of the sites a little bit, Nick.
I've been there, done that with the pram wheels and the planks with myself many years ago. But, I'm not quite sure how that would relate to being run in Priory Gardens. It's personally, but fortnight of fun. Happy with that one. Chalk art, I suppose it's up to what people like. Instead of soapbox derby, I was just thinking like just a talent contest of local talent. See if we get people going on stage for free to show us what talents they've got. But maybe that clashes with some of the other things we're putting on as well. But certainly this shop decorating kit, I think, is a worthwhile scheme. I think you mentioned as well, there might be a prize or something in the best shop, sort of voted for by the people. Certainly, I think that's a good idea to get you liven up the town a bit. The shop windows and a bit of competition between the retailers. I think the drone photography is sort of the price is worth money.
Thanks, Nick. Louise, then Greg.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I think it sounds brilliant. I have been looking up how to build a soapbox cart while we've been chatting about it, and I've already. So, I know you don't want to go into detail on that particular element, but if we were to do a soapbox derby, I can imagine all of the hay bales and the slopes in Priory Gardens would work. And would people be building their own? So all the entrants would build their own ones. We could go to, we could recycle loads of like bits of lawnmower, wood, cardboard. We could make them. And then could we like go to shops and say, oh, do you want to sponsor us and have your logo on? And they could help us to maybe fund it and really get the community involved.
Absolutely.
Just a bit of a rush of missing pram wheels.
I think that's a brilliant idea, or anything that really gets people involved in that process. Like, I think local people would love something like that. Yeah, sounds brilliant to me.
Greg.
Thank you. I had a thought as Nick was speaking about potential other venues. Have we scoped out other parks we have, and indeed optimistically Blowsdowns or Dunstable Downs? I mean,
yeah. So Lisa and the team are fantastically good at looking at sites and understanding how a site works and what the safety advisory group at Central Beds would want to see. So we need to make sure that there is a site that is safe, that's accessible, so it won't cause problems around parking, egress, egress, emergency services getting there. So that's why we've been looking at town centre parks rather than going into the neighbourhood parks. Blowsdown we don't own as well, so yes, it'd been an amazing slope, but brings a whole other issue to it. So we've looked at sites that we own and looked at sites that we know that we can safely run, and that the safety advisory group and their partners are happy with how we run events at. And which is why Priory Gardens has been identified as one of those, and we don't feel that Grove House Gardens has got the ability to host that with the gradients. We would still need to bring in a slope as well, so there's some construction that would be needed to start off the soapbox ride, if you like, and that's where Lisa and the team have been engaging with other towns that deliver a similar product, and how does that work in practice and what do they need to do.
I've made the point a couple of times to the team, can't have a really steep slope. And I've been explained several times why that's not appropriate, it's not going to work. And actually the one in Aylesbury works really well. So the Aylesbury build a ramp and it works and it's appropriate and it fits. So actually we have had some of those thoughts and we'll keep exploring. But the idea of it working with Priory Pictures as well, I think if we can make that happen, that works really well in Priory Gardens. So if we can do those things together, then it'll be really good.
Rob?
So in terms of ramp building and things like that, is that something Men in Sheds could help with, or ramp have to be?
I don't know, well, isn't that something which Lisa will have learned from the Aylesbury box to understand what the requirements are and whether it's something which you buy in or whether it's something that you
More or
need
less.
to make.
I'm sure there's enough to be hired out, isn't there? The health and safety implications have to be really tested out, don't they,
Yeah.
and everything. Louise?
Yeah, sorry, going back to cost, I know Greg's got a concern about the total cost, and he's right to have concern about that. I'm just wondering, in theory, would it be possible for us to really involve the local businesses and perhaps get them to sponsor some of this stuff or to contribute in some way to the cost? Would that be a feasible thing if they wanted
So I think
to?
what we're saying here is, as officers, is we need to know now whether or not that budget is available. Now, there might be other opportunities and ways that we can find that through sponsorship. So Gina works tirelessly throughout the year to try and find sponsorship for our events anyway. Given somebody a new event, there could well be sponsorship opportunities. I was talking to Liz earlier about the joint committee and whether or not they might, perhaps not the Soapbox Derby, but there might be another thing to say, yes, we'd like to mark your 40th anniversary, maybe. But what as officers we need now is, if those two, either or both of those two you like, we need to have a commitment that as officers that the budget will be there. But we might then also take back from this, but can you please also scope external funding opportunities, sponsorship, but there's a guarantee that that will be there regardless of whether or not we're successful or not.
I think it's absolutely an ideal opportunity for businesses to become involved and engaged in the community. And we've seen a real uptake, haven't we, in engagement and sponsorship take-ups in the last 2-3 years. But you've also got other organisations out there as well that look to sponsor and develop community collaboration, you know, and everything else. So there's lots of opportunities out there to explore. But I think we just need to say, if we want to do it, then we need to give the officers the steer that the money will be there to do. And then hopefully we'll find sponsorship so we don't need to spend our money, and our money doesn't then need to become involved, but we just need to give that overarching decision. So Becky, can I just clarify, Nick, I know you've got your hand up. Can I just clarify then that you're looking for us to recommend 1.1.1, the fortnight of fun, and the Soapbox Derby? You need those decisions tonight.
Yes, that's.
And then 1.2, which ones of those do we want you to go away and explore further and bring back to the next committee round?
Yeah, and I guess they're not so much to explore further because, well, I mean, the talk carpet is what it is cost wise. The youth festival is what we costed when we did when we put through the funding application, and the drone photography is what it is. We've had that quoted. The shop decorating kits could be as big as little as you want. So it's not so much for officers to go away. It's more about whether or not there's any there that you do or don't like, and then they will be considered at budget setting at the next committee cycle. So they don't get lost, but we haven't got any further information to add to them. We don't need to go away and do further costing.
And I just want to make a point and say, Greg, I feel your concern as well about this. This is community services. We've got grounds next week. We've got F&GP a week later. We need to, you know, that whole collective amount we do need to consider, because obviously it's our taxpayers that we have to ultimately consider. So, okay, Nick, you wanted to come in?
It's just on the Soapbox Derby. If it's going to be run, then you would normally on the bales, they're banners sponsors anyway. So that's the ideal, you know,
Absolutely, yeah.
sell a banner basically, which I don't know how much a banner costs to make up nowadays, but
Not much. Not much.
yeah, so if you're showing us sort of 500 quid a banner or something, then you get quite a lot of labels out of it.
Okay. So, Peter?
Thank you. I go off a slight tangent because I heard what Becky said about the other committees, but the work that I've been doing on the history of the town council, the important events that take place and so on, and the interaction with central beds and what was the county council on things like the railway and Queensway Hall and all that. Might I assume that that's going to be accommodated in finance and general purposes?
Yes.
Fine, thank you, because that obviously is a cost implication there. Thank you.
Okay, so should we take 1.1 as a recommendation? Are we happy to accept the recommendation that members agree that officers proceed with plans for the following events immediately to enable planning timescales to be met? A fortnight of fun, £10,000. and the Soapbox Derby, £10,000. With the exploration of potential sponsorships that come behind that. Those in favour? Okay, unanimous. And then it's recommended that members identify which the following options should be included in the draft budget for 25-26 to be considered at the next committee meeting. We have chalk art at 11,000, shop decorating kits at 5,000, the youth festival at 10,000, and the drone photography. Any views?
I think £11,000 is a bit steep for chalk art, but that's just me.
It's not just you. I'm just waiting for somebody else to say it. It's not just you. Peter?
I certainly think the youth festival is worth considering,
Yeah.
because to involve the youngsters, involve the schools really,
Yeah.
to think about their town and what the town has achieved over the years, and I think they would have a part to play. So I'd certainly go for that. And the drone photograph seems quite reasonable. I'm not quite sure what they're going to photograph, but well, it's sort of an aerial view of the
It's an aerial
centre of
view of all of
Dunstable.
us.
Oh, an aerial view of us.
All of us and all the
Well, are we
vehicles
worth
in the shape of a
475?
ball peen.
Okay, well, we'll think about that one.
Yeah, just
Well,
pretty
that
much
should come out.
what Peter just said. I think the youth festival definitely. Chalk art, I'm not so sure about. I think it's a great idea, but I think the cost is a bit extravagant. And the shop decorating kits, I don't know. I think it's a great idea, but I just would like to see maybe the shops.
They do that.
So my view here is that we've done lots for our residents, we've done lots for our youth, we're doing lots for the other, but actually we need to support our traders, we need to support and give back to our traders as well. And this is a way of building some better network and relationships as well, in my view, to try and build some of those conversations and for the future. And it's an opportunity. Yes, some of them should and would probably decorate their windows, but this is around getting the corporate side of things out as well, isn't it? And the
What was going to be in the kits?
I mean, we haven't gone through and costed it all, but it'd be things like your bunting, branded bunting balloons and stuff like that. I mean,
Do we know how many of that would sort of damage the front cover?
I mean, I think Annette and I would like to think that we could most probably get about 20 shops. But alternatively, there is that view of how do we get them just to do the Christmas shop front competition? We don't provide them with anything. So is there a way of providing an incentive and a more of a monetary reward or something like that? They get an advertisement in Talk of the Town and that, but is there another reward there that would be more attractive? I don't know, but I think Annette's view is how do we get the business sector involved in some way? And whilst I think the Soapbox Derby could well get some of our town centre businesses involved, how do we, if we're going to dress the streets, which you may or may not approve in FGP, then can we also then encompass all of the towns to follow suit? And do they need a bit of a helping hand, and is that it, or is there another way of doing it? That's the thought behind it.
Yeah, sure. I totally get that. And I can see why we might want to brand the decorating items. But you just touched on something that I'm thinking of. We've got so many artistic people in this town, people that work with cloth. I can think of one lady in particular who loves dressing this town. I just think some of those businesses and some of those creative people could work together, perhaps to produce something based on a brief that we give them, a colour scheme or whatever, and maybe minimise the cost. Yeah, because people love to get involved. They really do. They want to feel part of.
And that's essentially the essence behind it is absolutely what you've described there, and it was just how can we foster that involvement and making the business and the town centre kind of be part of this celebration and marking it. So if there's other ways that we can do that, then happy to kind of go and explore them. If you like the sentiment behind it, perhaps see if there's other ways in which we can do it, then I can certainly work with Annette on that.
Peter?
The Dunstable Cultural Consortium, that would probably come within this purview as well. They may well have some ideas. They're sort of at arm's length to the town council.
I think that's a lot of good points been raised. I'm pro the youth festival. I'm not necessarily persuaded of the value of the drone photograph. I may be in the minority there, but I think we could take a photograph on the ground and it would be on our phones and it would cost £0. That's my view. But yes.
You're okay. So the youth festival. Should we take each one and then see where we sit? I think. Yeah. So chalk art. How many around the table would like to support the chalk art? And that's your answer on that one. So the shop decorating kits. Who wants to support the shop decorating kits?
I do at the moment.
Something into the.
Okay, so that's something that we need to explore and to see how, more idea to balance how it would work and how we can get the community maybe involved in some community art as well. Okay. Youth festival. Hands up straight away. There you go. You answer on that one, and then the drone photograph. So it's novelty. It's a good marketing.
You could buy a drone for less than that.
So
That's only a speculative figure, isn't it? It's not £475.
I think that is a quote. I mean, there might be cheaper quotes, but it is a quote. Yeah.
I've got a drone.
I guess you can camera to it. Keep your phone to it.
Put a quote in, take 50 quid.
So we've got two definites, but we're a bit iffy on the other two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Really helpful.
Is that helpful? Yeah.
You might have,
Okay.
concept. I'll have a word with John. 'Cause we-
Right.
we use the photographer.
So that's the end of our main agenda items. We've got reports from outside bodies. Councillor Hollick, South West Dialogue.
Yes, well, our next meeting is in November, but not last Sunday, not yesterday, but the Sunday before. There was a sort of a barbecue or sort of social afternoon that to thank the drivers and admin staff and so on, which went very well. Otherwise, the councils or Central Beds Council contracts for various routes is going reasonably well, as I understand it, and financially, I think they're in reasonably fine fettle.
There are some amendments to bus timetables as from today that Dial-a-Ride have been involved in. Central Beds have changed some of their routes. So on there is a West Ward bus now that leaves West Ward in the morning in time to get people into work at 9 o'clock, and it returns them back after 5 o'clock as well, so they will get home as well. But there are some amendments, so it's worth having a look on Dial-a-Ride's Facebook page, because all the links are there to the changes. And it's actually a really good app I found that you can search A to Z of street names for Dunstable, and it takes you to what buses service your area, your street. So that's on the Dial-a-Ride page. Okay, Dunstable Town Band, Rob?
Nothing short
No.
of Dunstable Town.
Have they contacted you at all? And
I
have
have
you
spoken.
contacted them?
Yeah, I've spoken to them. They told me they're practicing on Monday night, and they said you can pop down one evening. I said I will do, but I haven't been yet. Plan to.
They room to review who we have councillor representation of, because we're not. What's the value of having named councillors when there's no interaction and no physical positive steps forward?
I think it changes when they need something or when something's going awry, they tend to then engage with their councillor rep, and then when everything's happy and all going well, then you tend to get in my experience anyway, a very quiet. They don't really need or needing to engage, and so you might be invited to a performance or something or a meeting.
We did have that conversation. That's what if you need anything.
Yes, you came to the bandstand concert,
Yeah.
the band concert. So, okay. Louise?
Can you not learn how to play triangle? Like get in, infiltrate.
Yeah, could do.
Okay, Now, Melon Sheds, you've all got an email this evening that George has sent out. Councillor Atwell's not on this committee, but he sent a very detailed update for Melon Sheds, which he sent to Paul and I just before the meeting. So Georgia has circulated it all and she'll put a summary into the notes, but all is going well with them. And they are actively looking forward to selling their wares over the Christmas period, I think. Great. Date of next meeting then will be the 4th of November at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much, members, and thank you for this home.
It shows, which shows, which is under finance.